in Maicho. Yeah, it's so hard to swim in San Diego. The weather is just too good. You have to go to the beach.
I know. Yeah, alternate plan: hot tub or sauna. These options get progressively more lazy over time.
There is a hot tub like across the street in the apartment complex. I just have to jump a fence and nobody would care. I could probably easily do that.
No one would know.
No one would know. No one would care.
And if you join the news, why aren't you in a hot tub right now? I want you to join the news show from a hot tub.
Dude, that would be
that would get our viewership up so much.
We've never done. Never done that on the show.
Josh could almost do the news from a hot tub right now. Look at he's in an undescript location near a dumpster, so he's definitely hiding bodies in the forest.
It looks like van life to me.
Yep, it is. It's just slightly larger than a van. It's a 20-foot travel trailer.
Gotcha. I see. Nice.
Are you down by the river?
Are you at
we're by the ocean
location?
right now. We were down by the river last week. This week we're down by the ocean.
Which
we won't force you to leak
we won't
your
force
live location.
Well, with that dumpster in the background, somebody already found it.
Oh, definitely.
Someone is geo-inting.
Yeah, we can still hear
geo-inting
you.
right now. Yeah, we can hear you. There's a little bit of a delay from audio to video, but we can totally hear you.
What kind of plan is that in the background, Corey? I know you can figure it out.
Let me use my GeoGuessr skills.
With the sun, with it being at this time and the sun coming
Apparently,
in.
I can hear you. You can't hear me.
Oh, we can hear. No, we can hear you. You can't hear us.
Well, can you hear us?
That's what it is.
Aha, earbuds.
He's got the Shure mic. He's got the travel setup.
This is a GeoInt challenge for the viewers to figure out exactly where
Dun,
he is.
dun, dun.
I recognize those.
Yeah, if you recognize these dumpsters.
If you recognize those dumpsters, you're gonna get a knock on the door halfway through
We
the
know
show.
what state park I am at.
Oh, State Park. That's
there's a big clue.
That was a huge
State
clue.
Park. There's only hundreds of those in this country.
Yeah,
but it still narrows it down.
Yeah, but with green trees, that's only like 3/4 of the country.
Yeah, right.
With the sun facing that way, you know, it's not like too dark yet. It looks like it's still pretty bright out.
Yeah, the only ones that get cell service.
Oh, cell service is huge.
Is
That
it
is
cell? We don't know if it's cell or Starlink. I guess it's pretty high quality for Starlink based on Bronwyn's experience.
I keep telling you, it's because I'm at the bottom of a canyon.
But
I had this conversation with Bronwyn, and my 5G modem does fine. Yeah, I'm not yet ready for Starlink. I don't know if I get that improvement to make it worth it.
I mean, it's fine when it's not trying to send radio through granite mountains. Stone just kind of tends to interfere with line of sight stuff.
I have a random YouTube video I was watching was talking about one of those planes that they're like trying to keep in the air in the stratosphere as long as they can.
Oh,
and
yeah?
like, the goal was like 6 months. Now I need to go find it. I just leave YouTube running in the background as I'm working, and every now and then a really cool video pops up. I don't see it.
Are they just refueling it repeatedly? Is this just the
no?
goal of burning?
It's solar.
Oh, it's solar.
It's
solar.
solar.
It's a drone.
Yeah, it's a drone,
That's really
and their
cool.
idea for it, they're like, okay, why are they going to have it up there? It could last 6 months, and they're like, why would you have it up there for that long? And I think the main argument of it was that they're thinking about putting cell towers on it because it's in the stratosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Theoretically, it could give cell service.
Yep.
People complain about all of the satellites going into low Earth orbit. I can't imagine what kind of hue and cry there would be if we start having planes that look a lot like spy planes flying around.
I wouldn't care.
Well, of course
because we don't have many of those.
The spot. Why do spy planes matter when the satellite can read a newspaper on the ground? Like,
yeah. Well,
I mean, I will say satellites are more expensive. We might have like a VC firm that's like Privacy Destruction Inc.
There, I threw the link in, or I'll throw the link in big chat.
Okay.
In the big chat.
In the live webcast chat.
Grown-up chat.
Yeah, not the private restream chat.
Yep.
I don't think John is coming. I think he's traveling.
No, I don't think he's going to be here.
John's teaching.
Teaching.
John's teaching.
No, Ralph.
So
Ralph,
It's all you, Corey.
Oh no.
You ready?
I apologize in
We
advance
still have
to
a
all
minute.
those who I
hey,
hurt.
you said it'll be fine. Come on.
That's just
Did
my
you
personal
lie?
motto that I'm reading off of my nameplate.
Uh-huh.
It's like self-encouragement, you know?
It's not false advertising here?
It's definitely false advertising.
You don't set a satellite. I set a newspaper on my roof and like a particular page, and it says like to my FBI agent, and then it's like a random string of digits.
Have you
It's
seen
like-
those like joke? Like if you fly to Milwaukee, it says "Welcome to Cleveland." If you fly to Cleveland, it says "Welcome to Milwaukee." Like on a building of a roof near the airport. Like that's always hilarious. There's
That's
one.
so awesome.
There's a few examples of that. It's like you know, a famous thing. Pretty good.
When you fly to,
There's some good ones.
when you fly to San Diego, you fly over my house at one point. That's probably, but the thing
You
is
have an
that
opportunity.
that flight in is like it goes from like literally like the back of San Diego all the way through, like cuts it in half. So that's a
You're basically flying
it's a
over
big,
everyone's
big
house.
lead up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Well,
I'll
just put
give-
"Welcome to Los Angeles" on your roof and solar panels. Someone will pick up. Eventually.
Can we
Someone will be
cover
like, oh
tickets?
God, I got on the wrong plane.
When I was in
oh, someone has
Arkansas,
a link. Google image search of your dumpster. They got you. No, I'm joking.
there was a guy
When
who
you were in
put
Arkansas.
"stay the f away" on his chicken sheds so that we wouldn't fly over them, because I don't know. Don't pay attention to chicken sheds. They don't stick up and get in my way in the plane. But he didn't want us to fly over them because like the C-130's flying over in formation, make a lot of sound, and the chickens will run from one end to the other and trample each other. So yeah.
Huh. That's
Yeah.
fun.
So
So did
you got up there
move?
with paint one day and just wrote like "stay the f away," and we're like, oh hey, okay, we can go around this. That's fine. It's easy.
That's fun. I can
That's
only
awesome.
imagine finding that out for the first time would have been interesting.
Chemtrails.
One of my buddies came back from a flight and had taken ground to air fire. Gotta love Arkansas. Someone
Oh,
with a 308's just like, hey, these guys, stay away from our farm. Yeah, it's fun.
What level of felony is that? Does that even count? Like, is that just starting a war
I
level
don't-
of felony?
I
Like,
don't
even
know. Like, because how could you? I don't know. I don't know that it was on purpose. Maybe he
Was
was
it on
hunting on his own
purpose?
land. And
Oh,
just,
sorry, I was just celebrating my alligator's birthday party. My bad.
Exactly it.
no idea when it would
Whoops.
have happened. They landed. They walked around the plane. They're like, "Is that a bullet hole?" Like, yeah. What the?
Finding out after the fact that you are taking fire. That's always
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
It was so far out on the wing that like fuel wasn't dumping out because they had burned down that much. So yeah, it wasn't really a problem.
Honestly, kind of impressive that anyone even hit that from that far away. I don't know. how
Yeah,
far
me
away it
too.
was, but
Like,
I feel
it's
like
not going
it's
fast,
pretty
but
lucky.
yeah.
All right.
All right, we ready to go?
All right, roll the
the
finger.
I think
Let's
we're
do
as ready
this.
as we're gonna get.
I think so.
Hello, happy New Year, fiscal year that is. It's June 3rd, 2024, and we're talking about news, like we always are. Hi, everyone. As
Hi.
always,
What's
Hey.
the
Yo.
show is filled, stacked to the nines. We actually are a little bit off axis. We need one more person to join, so if you can hack us and join this, please feel free.
Here, you know what? I'm gonna tag somebody. and
Jerry?
see if
I'll
they,
put the URL in chat.
Dude, I will
It's a
make
lot
that
easier.
happen. I got a friend who's dying to come on. He's really good.
It's for OCD reasons. Quality is not important. But yeah, basically,
Just anyone at this point.
we're gonna talk about what Ticketmaster. We got some cyber attacks, of course, on Okta. We've got some Fortinet vulnerabilities, some checkpoint vulnerabilities, logging vulnerabilities, botnet takedowns, all kinds of good stuff.
have you found my Ticketmaster data yet, Corey? I'm just wondering how bad it is.
Yeah. So let's talk about that one
Yeah.
first. Let's dip
You
straight into that.
you paid way too much to those Taylor Swift.
Dude, Tasteway, why not? Why
You
not?
should not have paid for the VIP backstage
Yes.
pass.
I'm going to
That was the
Paris
mistake.
to see her. 'cause
Man,
it's
you guys are
cheaper than,
nuts.
that
All right,
ticket
all
I
right,
bought.
which story are we?
So this is
There's like multiple ones
abc.net.au. I don't really know why we ended up on the Australian continent
Yeah, how did we
for
get that
this,
one?
but here
it's
we
a
are.
bonus.
And
All right, I got
it's been all over the news everywhere, but essentially the long story short is that Ticketmaster, who everyone knows and hates, that is a requirement, the second part, has essentially they've been advertised by Shiny Hunters. Shiny Hunters is one of the notorious threat actors affiliated with Breach Forums version 3 or whatever you want to call it. Breach Forums
generation.
Breach Forums NG, I don't know what to call it.
I love it. I
Essentially,
love it.
a threat actor is offering the data for sale, claiming 1.3 terabytes of data is there, including names, addresses, credit cards.
I send them
They've
a hard
confirmed it, so Ticketmaster has confirmed it. We don't know any details beyond that unless I am not up to date on this. Does anyone know any tech details, Wade or anyone else?
I hadn't seen anything else but this drop as well. But there is inklings that Snowflake was compromised, something like
So
that.
that's another article we
Is
have.
that related?
right?
Yeah.
And they use Snowflake. So people are thinking
Snowflake's like a data processor aggregator, right?
Yeah, Snowflake
Yeah.
is basically I don't know, it's Excel version 0.5.
An American
Better
cloud
than
computing
Excel.
based
I've heard it
data
in other
cloud.
Oh, yeah.
sentences.
Sure, it's better than Excel. It's basically a
But that bar's
business-
like right here and like anything,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, actually,
sandwiches.
Excel is the best.
I think
Excel is
I think they're a
actually
lot more than that. They're quite nice.
Well, they're also potentially compromised. So the Snowflake thing, essentially, we have a separate article about this. Now, this article was taken down, Ryan, so you're going to
What
have
is
to
that?
go to the
Oh.
Wayback Machine.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
was
that's
too
I put
hot
a link.
for-
I put a link in there. There's if you go to the Notion
Did they have a
refresh.
takedown
Oh yeah, there you
request
go.
on the
Look
article?
at that web.archive.
Web archive.
Sorry.
There we go.
Essentially, so to give everyone a little bit of context here. So Hudson Rock is one of the vendors that publicly talks a lot about Stealer logs. This is also a topic that I talk about a lot.
Yeah.
There's a few other vendors that talk about it, but Hudson Rock is an Israeli company that is, or I believe they're Israeli. I could be misspeaking, but they're essentially a company that is public about disclosing Stealer logs and lets you search for your computer and other things on there. Now, they posted a blog that essentially is kind of pointing the finger at Snowflake. This blog was up for about 2 days, and then was taken down at some point. Now it just redirects, the blog link redirects to their main page. But looking at the log, or looking at the breach, it's essentially, and I will say, like, Ryan, you should be careful because some of these screenshots are like straight off of Telegram and have some interesting, fun terminology on them. But
I'll just stay
basically,
here.
yeah,
PG,
nothing crazy,
PG.
but just, yeah, basically a threat actor claimed to have compromised a ServiceNow account for Snowflake. So essentially, someone at Snowflake had a ServiceNow account ServiceNow is an IT service management platform, and then for whatever reason, they were allowed to log directly into ServiceNow instead of going through SSO, which obviously an employee of Snowflake could potentially have access to hundreds or thousands of customers' data. So that's the theoretical compromise. I do want to give everyone listening take this all with a grain of salt. The blog has been taken down, which means either lawyers got it or something's wrong, but none of this has really been confirmed by Snowflake that I know of, unless I'm misspeaking.
They have.
I don't think
No,
Snowflake
no.
has.
Yeah, I just
weighed
dropped
it.
the
Oh, they
link
have?
to
They said it wasn't
the
them,
Snowflake
right?
blog.
They said it.
They sent Snowflake recently observed and is investigating an increase in cyber threat activity, and here's some IOCs. So
The thing
They
is,
haven't
there's
said that it happened,
there's the
but,
third person.
if
that
something
got
were to
breached
happen,
this.
this might be what you threat hunt for. Just saying.
Yeah, yeah.
There wasn't that. Isn't it like an Italian company, Santander, that also got breached, and that
Yes.
was also in the pulled blog post as well. And Shiny
Correct.
Hunters claim to have hit them. So Now we confirm
Yeah,
both of them are Snowflake customers.
Yep.
Yes.
Shiny Hunters, according to Hudson Rock from their original thing, Shiny Hunters claims to have breached Anheuser-Busch, State Farm, Mitsubishi, Progressive, Neiman Marcus, Allstate, Advanced Auto Parts, and a whole bunch more.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's,
I will
I
say
dropped the link for the Information Week article on that in our chat.
Yeah,
That is so many
it's really
passwords I
weird
have to change
timing
now.
'cause it's really weird timing because this. I will say, I'm guessing that these breaches, if we're following this thread of them being Snowflake related, I'm guessing these breaches are your data in Snowflake. Like, I guess, does anyone know? Snowflake is used more for like business intelligence, right? It's not like no one would use Snowflake to like log as a database backend for logging into a website, right?
You never
Or
know.
No,
would
I
they?
thought that's what it was. It's
Is that what it is?
It's their data cloud.
Okay, I thought it was more used for like business intelligence type of stuff.
Well, considering that
It can be.
considering that they're trying to blame the organizations not enforcing multi-factor.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I mean it's a cloud company, and it's funny. It's weird timing because it's a data warehouse, which I interpret that as this is for business intelligence. This is the data on, hey, your customers stay on this page for 5 seconds, and they stay on this page for 30 seconds, and they stay on this page for 20 seconds, and that's kind of that. Like, I think it's a Salesforce competitor more than it's a like Postgres competitor, but I could be wrong.
They have full up cloud services, just like in S3 or Google Cloud Buckets. It's just another option. It looks like that's what I'm looking at. Rather than keeping it in generic file types, it's optimized for databases.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a data lake, right? Every company's like, we need a data lake. What do we do? And then Snowflake's
So
like,
you could use it.
hi.
Yeah, you could use it for any of those, but it looks like someone got access or just went through Snowflake and tried Rock You. And
I would guess it was Stealer Log.
companies.
I would guess it was Stealer Log sources. So I actually, on an unrelated note, was looking into it for one of our continuous pen testing customers that asked us, hey, like, do you think there's anything wrong with Snowflake? This is like months ago. And I looked into it, just looking at our data breach tool. There's thousands and thousands of logins for a lot of these companies for directly logging into the Snowflake console. And this is true for almost any vendor, right? But so that's my guess on how this, angle went. But
I'm wondering if there's some type of easy misconfiguration within Snowflake that is
for the
leaking
SSO.
data. Yeah,
It would be
that-
SSO
either that,
related, right?
Or like think about how like Okta keeps getting breached over and over again just because it's not being it's being misconfigured. I'm wondering if that's similar with Snowflake and just like we haven't figured out what it is yet, or no one has really come.
I bet you there's a box.
In those, it's not Okta's fault. It's just that people, no matter what tool they would be using to authenticate, they're not configuring it to be secure. You got that option. You're like, do you want this to work safely, or do you just not want to check this box?
Totally. That's I think that's I mean, we're speculating, to be clear, but I think that's a very
100%.
apt speculation because like I noticed when I was testing it for that customer that they had the option to log in with Okta. You could click that button optionally, or you could just log in straight with username and password. So it was like it didn't force you to go through Okta. That might be that customer's environment, but I would guess if that's the default, that it's pretty standard across the board of like you can either log into the console directly or you can log in via Okta. And I do think the angle here is that a lot of these companies are collecting these data warehouses, data lakes, whatever you want to call them. They don't know how to use the data, and then they hire consultants to go and try to use the data, right? They're like, we've hired PwC or whoever to go and run analysis on our sales data and tell us how we can improve our bottom line by 4% or whatever. That, I think, is where you start sharing these logins for Snowflake all over the place, and that expands your Stealer malware footprint by a huge margin of, like, let's say you have people offshore, you have, like, other consultants, other people. That opens up the attack surface a significant way because, obviously, those offshore consultants do need access to the full data to do analysis. So
that's really common. You guys probably see that during web app pen testing where they make you credentials, and then if you've got a team of pen testers, they all are sharing those. I can't imagine you're not going to see that same thing of, hey, I've got all this data, your company, can you come in and make sense of it and help tune it for us? Here's the one login shared amongst yourselves, no multi-factor, no 2FA, and no one shutting it down on the back end after you're done. It's just the one we use for contractors, so it's always available.
Exactly.
But it's got all the access.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think the whole like data lake concept is a tough one to use it. It has to be accessible to a wide variety of people, and that potentially compromises the security of it. But
the
we'll
kind of
see.
funny part, my recent threat modeling video that I did a couple weeks ago, I actually talked about shiny hunters just a little bit because I had them in a threat profile but that original threat profiling was from like 2019 or like 2020 around there when they weren't as big. And so when I saw them in the news, I was like, oh, cool. This actually is relevant again. Like,
yeah.
Is it just me, or does Snowflake's invoking of, I think it would be called the Microsoft defense, that the threat actor obtained personal credentials and access to a demo account owned by a former Snowflake employee sound like we're getting into a whole thing where every company that's big enough will be going ahead and trying to use the same, it was just a former employee and they only got into a demo area. They only got into a test area.
It was a former intern.
First it was the intern, now it's a demo. Yeah, exactly.
But the only problem with
Colonial
that,
Pipelines too.
I've seen too many, quote, demo accounts where they've exported live data for testing purposes. It's like, no, don't do that.
Wasn't that the entire Microsoft attack?
Well, yes.
It was a dev, not production, but like totally had production keys on there, but it was really difficult to find. So
that wasn't a data issue, that was an access issue. But same difference, right? The problem wasn't the data, it was the actual access from those accounts. But yeah, I mean, I think we're speculating, but this same angle has been like half the breaches we've talked about this year.
Yeah.
Accounts in Stealer logs go bypass MFA or bypass SSO, end up with data compromise. I can list off the top of my head like 20 companies that this has happened to that we've talked about in this show. So I guess if you're curious, contact Black Hills or any other company that does this, because this is the new thing. Like this is what threat actors are doing. This is what we're doing. This is like, get with the program. Everyone's on board. Let's not get our accounts compromised.
Okay, but what I want to know, are they staying on these networks for 6 years or more?
Probably not. Probably not, because that's a lot of work. You got to monetize it way faster than that.
Yeah, it's like when you kick down the front door and you're going to steal the TV, right? And like get out. Like that's pretty much the whole thing, right? Like how do I monetize this thing that I did, right? So
yeah. Hence,
if they could stay for 6 years, they would. But they want to sell the access they have, whatever its value is, and then get going.
Yeah.
If they did for 6 years, that I think would fall underneath the Chinese hackers.
Well, that's Bronwyn's talking about a specific article, which Ryan has hopefully found by now.
I was trying to do a nice.
Oh no, Ryan
over there, just
Ryan,
I don't have these memorized. You've got to help me out.
If anyone says it's easy. If anyone says anything, just search for it in Notion. It'll only take you like 20 seconds.
Ryan's over there, like keyword AI. Just
there you go, Ryan.
Does that help?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So Bronwyn, tell us about these. Tell us about this very exciting article.
I mean, this is just one of those things that drives me crazy and has ever since I first got into cybersecurity. The whole thing of foreign nationals getting into military and government networks, and they're just staying hidden for years and years. Previously known as unfading sea haze. I guess now they have a new name. APT 41. Gee. They got in, they've been lurking for years, and they claim that I don't know. I've read it a while ago, but the bottom line is this is why we need better threat hunting, is so that we can detect these things and not have our systems be compromised for years on end.
Well, do you want to
Looks
hear
like they
something
Logs don't
scary?
go back
Fishing.
that far.
Oh, yeah. I'll talk
Do you want to hear
Yeah,
something
the
scary
logs
about
bombed,
that sort of
the tail light
thing?
Ran out of space.
Go
Yes.
for it.
We had 7,000 endpoints at the last base where I was in charge of the QA and training flight. We had 150 people in the comm squadron, and of those, 10 of them were on like cybersecurity specifically. Of that, it was coming up with patch management and POAMs and preparing for inspections. There was no active SOC. At the larger level, there was a SOC of sorts. There's a network monitoring that managed multiple bases. And what they were most worried about was connectivity and keeping things up, not necessarily hunting or checking for EDR. While we had virus protection on all the machines, and this is 2018 info that like now feels really old. I also know that nothing has changed on the overall ops of what the military is doing on that part. And so then you've got above that, every Air Force base is managed by one squadron, and what they're mostly looking at is patch management for all of the bases. And so you're talking like 30 bases with anywhere between 7 and 17,000 endpoints. Like the idea of looking for logs and actually doing SOC management and or SOC detection at that scale, it doesn't happen. And when you want threat hunting, that's an outside team that comes in, and they're there for a couple days to do a little bit of threat hunting after a known incident occurs. So there's not really active threat hunting because there's no one whose job it is to do active threat hunting. So
Josh just out here revealing military secrets. China has definitely OSENTed him out and will be picking him up soon.
So, I mean, that's as expected. But my question for Wade or anyone else who has dug into this, they don't give a whole lot of details on like what government systems or what networks, because I'm reading this and it looks like all they're saying is we were phishing them for years and no one ever saw it. Like, are there any more in-depth details on what government networks we're talking about, and where is the proof of, like, I guess, has this been acknowledged by any of the agencies, or was just is Bitdefender just being like the government sucks? Like, I mean, what's the
being vague, right? They probably can't say who it is. That's what I'm guessing. Like reading all like the key points of this, none of the attacks are that crazy. Like we link files, right? Remote SMB servers.
Yeah, you're getting dunked on by
like,
Bitdefender. You're getting dunked on by like the
but they don't
here.
You know what? It probably is if
Bitdefender
Bitdefender mentions a name, there goes their contract. That's probably what it is.
Well,
but...
okay, if the U.S. government is using Bitdefender, like, please, guys. Like, let's
and at that level, like,
let's talk.
You have
let's find another
networks.
EDR.
So, on the unclassified level, that's only like emails about work, slides for the upcoming staff meeting, and if those have any sort of information that relates to operations, they're going to be on the next level of classification, and that network's not open externally. They lock that stuff down fairly well. There's been some stories, but that's why they're probably not finding much. If you wanted to identify all the people who are in the military, it'd be easier to actually like hack Home Depot or Lowe's and figure out who signed on for a military program.
I will say, okay, one kind of reading between the lines here, they don't say what government.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
That too.
They don't. They just say targeting government and military targets.
Yeah.
Okay.
They do.
Well,
say
what
South,
government? Are we
South
talking
China
about
Sea,
Tuvalu?
Right? South
Yeah, they
China
do.
Sea.
Like who? I don't know.
Wade's right. They
Philippines
do
and,
say
like-
South China Sea.
Right, but Tuvalu's almost there, so that may be a trap.
I mean, I'm just saying, like,
Pacific.
I don't know. I think we all read this as
That's
U.S.
fair.
government, but it doesn't actually say that.
Yeah.
It just says, like, government and military. Meanwhile, like the king of Brunei or whatever is like, crap, my personal computer, which is actually the government computer.
For the whole.
The whole military's run out of my email, said the Sultan of Brunei or whatever. So my Bitdefender isn't defending me, and I need to call them and like open up. The incident response was just him opening up a ticket with Bitdefender being like, my computer's broken. I am that all of that was a joke. I just want to say that, but it is reading this from our U.S. centric perspective. So it's probably not the U.S.
What Corey, what you're saying is that this could just be like more of like, well, it was a government entity, but possibly this is happening to all the governments, right? Just think about it.
Yeah, that's what the blog wants you to think. So buy Bitdefender, said the blog.
Now Corey can never go to Brunei for releasing.
Yeah, he's literally
banned.
The guy's on his computer right now, the only one in the country.
Listen, if you're the Sultan of Brunei, hit me up. I can get you a sweet product that will beat Bitdefender. It's called Windows Defender. You just take the bit off.
Lets you download more RAM.
Take those bits out. Take those bits out.
Take all the bits
out. Okay.
What's this new Linux vulnerability?
Oh, God.
Have you all been following that?
No, Linux is unhackable, so I don't.
We talked.
Yeah, we're unbreakable.
Really gnarly.
Unbreakable Linux. I remember that.
Unbreakable Linux.
That's Temple OS.
That's the best OS.
Nice. Yeah, so I wasn't following this one until CISA put this on their list. But it's CV 2024-1086, and
I love that.
There's they've basically given a deadline of June 20. So I think how much notice that means. So they're giving everyone 20 days. Yeah. 20 days to patch this thing. I actually grabbed an exploit. I grabbed an exploit off GitHub and made a quick look at the code, and then spun up a Linux VM and tried it on there, and it totally works. If you have a non-root account on a Linux system, you become root. Yeah. So it's just privilege escalation. But it means, for all of those freaking WordPress servers out there, and WordPress is, some majority of the websites on the internet are WordPress. So all those WordPress sites out there that always end up having yet another plugin that's, yet another plugin or yet another misconfiguration that gives you non-root on the box. This thing moves you to root, and it's very simple and easy.
Yeah. These are really nice for your OSCP exam.
Yes.
But also does anyone remember like Dirty Cow? Who was around for Dirty Cow?
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah.
Dirty Cow was like, you just get on like, it was like rinse and repeat. This is like circa, I don't know, 2011
all the big Linux vulnerabilities that have come out, they're all privilege escalations.
This one needs a cool name though. Has this been named yet? Like it has to be something.
I think it's got to. The blog post at least has a dedicated website like NF
and net
poning.tech/NF tables. So taking a look and seeing if it's
not as good
flipping
as Dirty
pages
Cow.
is the
flipping
pages. Nowhere near as much.
Yeah,
flipping
the cow
pages.
are copy on write, so that's kind of the.
Yeah, no, it was awesome.
I know.
This is a pretty good
I think
diagram.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if you guys like diagrams.
I definitely don't understand memory management on Linux or whatever. These kinds of memory corruption vulnerabilities are always gnarly to really dig into, like on a deep level.
This hit like a pretty wide swath of the Linux kernel, it looks like. So there's a really good likelihood if you jump on a box that hasn't been updated recently that you'll probably be able to.
Yeah. This is one of those
it covers kernels. Oh, sorry.
No,
it covers kernels between 5.14 and 6.6.14 at least. And there may be more to use after free. So
just for context though, when you upgrade the kernel, right? Like let's say you come out with the patch for your version, you're not going to go to 6 and the version above. You're still going to be on 5. It's just going to be a minor revision with security updates, right?
No, that's not true. Listen to Nessus. It'll report this as vulnerable. Listen, Nessus will be reporting this stupid thing as vulnerable for the next 25 years. So get used to seeing this.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Of course, Nessus has never had any false positives.
No.
None at all.
Oh god.
But it is, I guess, put it in your toolkits if you get
Yeah,
local
run it again.
shells. I mean, I will say with this kind of thing, these are chained, right? There's a lot of people who probably were sitting around as a low priv on Linux, and now they're like, ooh, now I can do stuff.
Guarantee
So-
this isn't a CTF right now.
All those web shells you forgot to clean up, definitely now you'll know about them because you'll have Bitcoin miners deployed organization wide.
If this isn't in a CTF yet, it's about to be. I've got my Black Hats coming up. That's when I do my my Kubernetes and containers in Linux class. That's the one. That's the point. Everybody does a classic Black Hat. Basically, refreshes their class for there. So I think this is going in a lab.
Nice. According to Sarsaparilla in the chat, he runs or she runs everything as root, so privilege escalation is not possible.
He
makes
That's
perfect
a good
sense.
point. It solves the problem, right?
One way to solve a problem.
If
Of
you
course,
don't use a password, you can't crack my password.
this is why I say there's no such thing as a solution that doesn't cause other problems.
Right.
The question is
no,
the
I use
problem
Docker.
worse
I
than the
use Docker.
solution?
It's impossible to hack me because I use Docker and I run everything as root.
Mhm.
So it's
Excellent.
fine.
Okay.
Okay, but
Yeah.
question.
Can't escape those.
Question.
Speaking of shells. Oh, go ahead.
Do you use a VPN when you're accessing these things?
Say Nord. Say Nord.
No, I don't. But you know what I do use? You know what I do use is
Nord
a
and
botnet.
Surfshark.
I use a botnet of a million U.S. residential things, but now I can't get to it because it was taken down by the feds.
And now after that, let's segue to our sponsor, NordVPN.
No. There's Ryan. That was a segue. I'm currently riding my segue off a cliff, so hold my beer.
Tesla must have made it.
It balances itself, guys. Here we go. Yeah, basically, this is the 911 botnet or 911 botnet. I don't know, 911 S5. I don't know what season of 911 is this. I genuinely don't know. But basically, Operation Tunnel Rat, which sounds so cool. I mean, the U.S. government is really good at coming up with these names. Basically, the FBI. Who else? Defense. I don't even know some of these agencies.
Bureau that's a three-letter agency I didn't know existed. Is that?
I'm sorry. It says Bureau of Industry and Security. That's getting pretty close to Black Hills InfoSec. But Office of Export Enforcement. Like, are they making new agencies? Like, what is going on?
It's kind of like
of course they are.
They gotta get it. Was a symmetrical thing. Symmetry. That's what they were looking for. So they had to make
okay. Yeah, well, basically, this started as early as 2011. Essentially, we've seen legal versions of these. This is a particularly illegal version of this. Essentially, people distribute malware. When you download the malware, which is typically distributed as Trojans, you end up being part of a botnet. And then that botnet access is mainly used for network purposes. So as an example, let's say you're a threat actor launching a password guessing attack against Snowflake. You could use this as your botnet to send those authentication requests because the requests are coming from residential IPs all over the place. They're much harder to block. They're much harder to triage. And in most cases, if you end up blocking them, you're also blocking everyone doing their jobs. So they're kind of hard to block. But yeah, you can see the takedown. They took down a bunch of domains. It looks like it was actually for sale. And yeah, there are legal versions of this too, but it looks like the person who was running it, whose name was, let's see, Yunhe. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm sorry. Yunhe Wang.
Definitely.
Looks like he was doing pretty well because they also seized a 2022 Ferrari, a BMW i8, a Rolls-Royce, more than a dozen bank accounts, 24 cryptocurrency wallets, several luxury wristwatches, 21 residential or investment properties, and only 20 domains.
Dang!
The investment
Well,
properties were in
penalty, 65
Thailand,
years in
Singapore,
prison.
and the United States. Jeez.
Okay, so backing up a little bit though, the thing that is annoying to me is that people went and they got a VPN. They were trying to do the right thing, but they got the wrong VPN because it was a Trojan horse, which then turned around and started using them to do all kinds of badness. It's like the bad guys. This is why
VPNs go both ways. It's
yeah,
impossible.
they do. I know, shocking.
What?
And I feel sorry for people who aren't geeks, who aren't technically oriented, because this is exactly the type of thing that they're going to fall prey to.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is like, I imagine this botnet as like all the computers at all the schools K through 12 are in this botnet. That's how I imagine it.
Well, because it's free, right? Must be good. It's free.
Yeah. And if anyone's wondering, there's legal versions of this. There's one called Bright Data that is the exact same thing. So if anyone's curious, this is legal. You don't have to do it this way. You can do it legally and still have Ferraris in 21 houses. So kind of crazy. I don't know why that's true. I kind of wish it wasn't, but it is.
Why are we not doing this? I'd like a Ferrari.
The
Actually,
only
I'd
thing
like to sell a Ferrari and then use the money.
Use the money to tunnel through the granite so you can have faster internet. No,
yes. Or buy a house where it's not an issue.
Nice. Yeah. The I guess for anyone wondering, if it's free and it's a VPN, don't trust it. Just in general.
What about
just don't?
What about a free scanner?
I've got a
Kaspersky.
Oh, definitely trust that. What could
Russia
go wrong?
all in. I got a follow-on article for this. So I listened to a podcast today, and it was about the time the FBI set up a fake cell phone company. Do you guys remember that article?
No.
Yeah.
Please elaborate.
Yes. So
You got a link for us?
Yeah. Here, I'll post this link. So I got two cool things about this. So I listened to. If you want to check out the short podcast, which I'm going to add to this right here. So the podcast was good. It was on Planet Money. But anyways, so in short, right, the FBI made a cell phone company called what was it called? It's Anonymous.
Boost Mobile. Wait, no.
Yes, Boost it. No, it was called Anonym, right? Anonym. Anyways, so what happened was, and I'll make this short. So the FBI was going to arrest somebody who had another cell phone company that was making cell phones that a lot of criminals were using, right? And so they tried to make a deal with him, and the guy ended up running, and they didn't end up making the deal. But there was a lot of like publicity around his kind of escape, right? And so other people who were making anonymous cell phones saw this, and they strike a deal with the FBI. Long story short, the FBI ended up starting a cell phone company called Anonym. And the whole point was so that they would make a cell phone that was super, super secure, but it actually just sent all the data to the FBI.
That's amazing.
This really happened. And they did this, right? And what was wild is that they couldn't collect on U.S. citizens because of, I don't know, this warrant thing. I don't know for sure. So they did this all overseas. And so they were collecting data, and like it started off in Australia and like expanded and all this wild stuff. It is a crazy story. So if you're interested in that, but yeah, so, and then they actually didn't arrest anyone after the whole thing, even though they did this whole seize and all this other stuff when they shut it down. The reason they shut it down, check this out. The reason they shut it down, there were so many like threats of life, right? So what they were doing is seeing like, hey, I'm going to go hit this guy. We're going to go kill this guy, right? And so, and then they would intervene, right? They would set something up, like the police would go do something, and then they would see the messages back and forth where people were like, holy crap, how did they know? And instead of
who ratted us out?
Yes, no, hold on. Instead of blaming the cell phone, they blamed their friends, and so they wanted to kill their friends.
Yeah. I mean, okay, the funniest thing would be if you just got wrapped up in all this.
Doesn't that solve the problem, though? No. Sorry.
So I guess at the end of the story is it got so much the FBI couldn't handle all of what the caseload had become, all this information of illicit activity, and so they pretty much shut it down.
Can you imagine getting hired at the FBI and like they're really circumspect about what you're going to be doing? They're like, yeah, we need an agent with classified clearances and stuff. And then you get in, you're just like a tech support for a cell phone company. you're just like, really? I'm just going to be like, hello, oh, you dropped your phone. Would you like to upgrade to the $6.99 a month plan? Like, but you're wearing the badge, and every day you go to work, and you can't tell anyone what you do. You can't tell them what you do. You're under secrecy, but your job is the lamest job ever.
Yes. And
Could
so
you
the
imagine
last
you
thing
have to go get a master's in criminal sciences
Oh my
for
God.
that. The last thing I'll leave with this is it's not really a plug because it's not my book in any way, shape, or form, but there is a book coming out called Darkwire that's just about this, right? The whole story of how the FBI ended up here and how they built this whole cell phone and how it all turned out. So anyways, I thought it was kind of interesting about, because we were talking about, setting up, essentially these like traps, right? So yeah, kind of cool.
Sounds like good reading for a book club.
Yeah. For sure.
Cybersecurity book club.
Do we have that channel?
I don't know.
Do now.
If we didn't before, we will soon.
Yeah.
I'm in.
We should do a book club. All right, let's. Does anyone else have any articles they want to talk about? Does anyone have any hot takes or hot pockets?
I had one. It was there's a Fortinet. There's an exploit just came out about for Fortinet RCE.
Right.
It's an unauthenticated. It's unauthenticated remote against your Fortinet SIM.
It's bad.
Which is just kind of and the question I had is like, how many people have their SIM say accessible to the entire internet? Like how much is something that people are. Like, listen, I want to say, oh, don't worry, people only get to it after they've pivoted through 2 other networks. But you gotta think if we hit Shodan, we're gonna find way too many Fortinet SIMs.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you really don't want to know how many are out there.
Yeah.
Well, half of them are for sales purposes. The other half are companies that have their SOC is global. And they can't be bothered to collect an IP list, so there you go.
No, Corey, they're all demo environments.
That's what I was going to say.
Demo environment.
The third half, just to follow the car talk type way. The third half of the show, the third half of them are, oh well, it's a demo. It's a demo environment where it's we've set it up to test it. I mean, we're feeding all of our real data into it, but it's just a test.
It's just a proof of concept.
It's
just a proof of concept.
We're not going to get anything except for all of our logs and all of our network traffic.
Yeah, and it's great how the attackers actually they're like when you're using the same data in dev and prod, when you're using the same credentials in dev and prod, the attackers all know to never touch dev, right? They don't.
Well, I also am sure that they would have wiped the agent off of all of their endpoints after running the POC, right? Of course.
Oh,
surely.
We always do.
They definitely wouldn't just leave that agent running and basically give someone C2 over their entire domain or anything.
So there's been so many of these vulnerabilities. This one was the one that was patched 3 months in advance, like Ghost, right? And then they just recently released the POC, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
This
one,
one,
like, if you haven't fixed it, now you will.
Now you will. Yeah. It's definitely, if you haven't patched, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
Oh, Bronwyn, this is a good one.
February 8th.
Sorry.
Okay. So I had a suggestion for if are we done with bashing the CIA?
Wait, the CIA is involved?
I mean, we're gonna bring in every.
We haven't bashed the CIA yet this show. Is that where this is going?
Environmental
from the
Protection
CIA
Agency. What did they do?
To the EPA. No, one of the things that a gajillion years ago, my ex-husband and I used to talk about was attacks on utilities and how they could be leveraged for all kinds of things. And what I like about this article and about what it's reflecting is that the EPA has recognized that cyber attacks are a legitimate threat against our water system and our water infrastructure. So they're talking about the things that we talk about every day: basic cyber hygiene, basic monitoring, keeping track of how these systems are being left vulnerable, and trying to make sure that we cover the fundamentals.
Yeah.
And
it's like someone
so
over
many times that's
the blurb they give is stunning, and I recommend everyone read the EPA.gov post. But basically, it says when on site. So these are people here to like test whether there's E. coli in the water, but they have identified alarming cybersecurity vulnerabilities at drinking water systems across the country and taken actions to address them. And then the examples they give: some water systems failed to change default passwords. Shocker. Some use single logins for all staff. Failed to curtail access for former employees. They've also found, and they start to get into kind of some cyber babble, but they say inadequate RRAs or ERPs, which I assume means something if you're in the water industry. But yeah, I mean, can you imagine you're just like there to test the water quality and you're like, you guys just all use the same password? Like, who do I report this to? Who do I report? Who do I even tell?
What's the agency?
Since September 2023. Jeez.
Yeah.
That's a lot. 70%.
Yeah.
It also feels like someone over at EPA finally like walked into the fax room and was like, "Hey, you guys see all this stuff from CISA? Should we be doing something with this?" Does that have anything to do with us?
They won't stop sending faxes, and I don't know what's going on.
I had to replace the toner 6 times on this printer. Does anyone know what that's about?
Well, we had to put them on the spam filter because they just kept sending us emails. Did anyone read those?
They must have been hacked.
That's amazing. Yeah, the first. Or go ahead,
Corey,
Brian.
RRA is a risk and resilience assessment, and
Okay.
ERP is emergency response plan.
Okay, so they're essentially it's like a PCI ROC or whatever, but for water agencies. Okay.
And SDWA was the Safe Drinking Water Act.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I am here
remember.
to translate acronyms.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I remember one of the first OT pen tests I ever did when I first started pen testing was a water district. And it was the easiest pen test I have ever done in my life. It was day one, Nessus scan, gets you DA, and then straight to OT from one guy's computer that has access to everything. And it was terrifying. It was terrifying.
Oh, God.
Like, I was making findings up left and right. I was like, encryption, authentication, completely not there. Like
jump hosts.
Yeah, jump hosts non-existent. Like MFA non-existent. Like, yeah, I mean, this is back in the day, but I remember like literally seeing a screen that was like open valve on the bleach tank. I was like, this isn't fun anymore. This is scary.
So let me guess, you had a 1-day engagement and you found 20 criticals and 30 high level severities.
It was a week on site, and then the rest of the week I spent, they were like, we also want you to look at the wireless. And I'm like, okay, let's look at the wireless. So I'm like walking around, they're like, okay, I'm like, how do you actually use wireless? So like, oh, turns out we just have iPads and they're just on cellular and they just remote into all the stuff. There's no actual Wi-Fi. I was like, that's fun.
That's scary.
So, and that was bad.
Hack the Capitol was last week, and there was a lot of conversations around this stuff. I liked the article in that hopefully it means the EPA is actually cracking down, because like CISA can't make any of these water treatment plants do stuff, but the EPA might be able to. So
right. I mean,
that could be good.
Is there here's the question. Where in the country are we going to talk about in a month that's now on a boil water order because they didn't patch their Fortinet appliances? Like, can you imagine the news article? Like, it's like a little flyer that gets sent to every citizen of some county, and it's like, please boil your water because we didn't patch Windows. And you're just like, what? You didn't? What? I'm so confused. Why? But okay, I guess I'm on a boil order now because we failed our. I mean, I'm assuming that if you fail your,
might be right.
If you fail your RRA or your ERP, you have to something happens, right? Like, I genuinely don't know what happens, but maybe you just get fined.
Is it a risk smack?
I don't know.
Well, there's even there's even like
this. That's what happens.
There's even criminal.
Criminals were involved?
There are no, sorry. There are fines There are fines and other kind of penalties, but there's also if you say that you got those assessments done, and you had a clean bill of health, and you were and you're fibbing, then the operator of the water utility can be held criminally liable.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
Interesting.
I didn't read enough to find out whether it says jail time, but it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the SolarWinds
Ooh.
thing. If the CEO says it's secure and it's not, there could be charges.
Yeah. Great. Another thing to add to CISP is now you have to be knowledgeable on the Safe Drinking Water Act.
Oh yeah.
Not only do you have to know the right fence heights, but you also have to know whether water is safe to drink based on Fortinet patches. What could go wrong? Yeah. I mean, I will say, like, a lot of this stuff, having that, like, hearkening back to that pen test I talked about, like, even back then, there was things they could have done to improve security that weren't that hard. And, like, I know I get it, like, limited budgets, but honestly, I think the biggest thing is just limited awareness from, like, those OT, operational technology is a totally different world from IT, right? Like, they're not thinking about patches. They're thinking about set points and, like, keeping the water on for people. It's just a whole different perspective. And I guess, like, this being baked into their, big document they submit every year to the government will probably matter quite a bit. I wonder if we'll get some pen tests out of this.
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of OT pen testing, and we're getting. I've been noticing we're getting a lot more lately, luckily, I don't think we've had one in the last 5 years where there wasn't both MFA and segmented networks, and a segment, because like in general the OT networks, the operational networks, are supposed to be separated from the IT networks. It's not any kind of it's not air gap or whatever. There's jump hosts, but what you're describing having run into is years back was kind of awful, and it seems pretty uncommon, although I'm saying it's uncommon from the perspective of places that also get a pen test
that actually hire you to do a pen test, which is probably the top 5% of water agencies.
Okay, that scares me. I'm going to bottled water.
Well, we have talked about on the show an article of, like, I think it was in Florida or something, but it was basically a water agency where, like, their entire environment was exposed on the internet via, like, a VNC or something that was
no,
open.
it was just a I think it was like
Log Me In
or
something.
Log Me In. Yeah,
Team
one
Viewer.
of those other things. Yeah,
yeah, like they were all using, like,
that was the whole.
Yeah,
thing.
it was like Ed from the OT department set up a Team Viewer, and that was just their admin.
Well, so that he didn't have to go into work to go adjust the stuff, right? So he could work from home. I mean, it was a COVID-19 time. It was different times, right?
I was going to say, wait, how much of that got added in 2020? That's
true.
That's kind of frightening.
Terrifying. Yeah.
I mean, we've had plenty of clients who had to, who, like, I don't know, we probably all have, like, so many friends where it's like their whole company went remote for the first time ever. They had to figure out in a matter of weeks or days
how to do that. Yeah.
How to get everybody issued with VPN credentials, how to get everybody onto the remote, onto what's it called? VDI and so on. So
totally.
Fortinet made all their money that year.
And Sarsaparilla talked about bottled water just comes from municipal sources anyways, but you've just added another non-government controlled source of filtering and additives to get that spring water taste. So, like, if you can hack into the municipality's water treatment facility, how hard would it be to get into Dasani's? And
no, not Dasani. That's my favorite.
Who's going to figure that out? Or Aquafina or Arrowhead? I'm pretty sure in Arrowhead they just have a hose and they just use the city water into the bottles.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you think so this is like, the city of Cleveland, where I used to live, had beef with Fiji because at some point Fiji was marketing their water as, like, not Cleveland, and actually, and Cleveland was like, listen, we're gonna test your water versus ours, and guess which one was cleaner, right? The municipal water is regulated down to millions parts per millions or billions or whatever. Meanwhile, drinking water is not regulated at all. There's no, you could buy like whatever pseudoscience water you want to buy. And also, I know for a fact that they were pulling water from Lake Erie for Nestle water, which is way grosser than the municipal water.
Nestle also pulls from national forests too, and other places. They'll pull water from wherever, with or without a permit. But that's another story.
Yeah.
That's a villain for another time. I think we're pretty close on time, unless
we're going to use the remainder of our time here to teach you how to boil, strain, filter, decant, and otherwise cleanse your water.
You shake it up and you gotta wait half an hour.
I will say
it tastes fine. It looks great.
If we're talking water filters, I would recommend the Sawyer Squeeze. That's the water filter that I use when I'm backcountry camping, and I highly recommend it. It's a very simple system. It's basically 2 bags of the filter in between, and it's incredibly simple. Also, if you're ever on a really long run if you're ever getting dehydrated, just remember that if you drink the groundwater and you get food poisoning, it's still better than dying of dehydration.
Wow.
Giardia beats really dehydration every day of the week. Exactly. So.
Bo, no, don't do that.
Yes.
Anyways,
no. Comments. I'll be laughing. By the way, everyone who puts these great comments in here, like, I'll just be going along and I'll just be cracking up laughing because you guys are killing me over there. Good job.
We love the comments. Does anyone else have a last? Do we have like a last hit? I mean, there's tons of breaches.
You can't get infected if you drink your own urine.
Yeah, you found that one. Yeah.
And then Otakar Killer says, "You have died from dysentery." Oregon Trail. Wah, wah.
Yep.
Nice.
Oh God, we have the best commenters in our Discord.
They're awesome.
We do.
Yeah. Anyone have a final note? Patch your Fortinets, I guess, if you somehow had your SIM on the internet.
Yeah, and stop DDoSing the Internet Archive. It's not nice.
Yeah,
there was a story we didn't get to that was really cool, and it was basically people going on Stack Overflow and posting answers, saying that the way to solve this particular whatever problem you're trying to solve is to use this Python library, and putting up some nice malware or some evil malware in PyPy. So
probably had ChatGPT make that malware for them.
That's my worry. My worry isn't about Stack Overflow. My worry is about all the LLMs that are being trained on Stack
Indexing
Overflow.
Stack Overflow.
Yes, this is how you solve it, and they're like hacking people left and right. Like, this is the best post I ever made.
Okay, so we're getting into the kind of after show
in AI.
No. They're training. They're giving their data off and to OpenAI to train.
Okay,
different LLMs out there. Many people will train them on Stack Overflow.
That's how you make money. You sell your data.
Well, hey, at least this time they're getting permission as opposed to just scraping it because they can.
No. What they did is they took it in the first place and they were like, "What are we going to do?" And they're like, "You know what? We'll just sell it to them, and then at least we'll make something off of it." So
yes. So to take this full circle, this article is kind of inappropriate, so I don't know if Ryan should link it, but essentially there was an article recently where essentially if you ask AI why your pizza sauce isn't good, it will tell you to add about 1/8 of a cup of I'm sorry, I couldn't make it. It will tell you to add glue to your pizza sauce.
It does make
okay, so this harkens. We talked about this last week, but basically Reddit is selling their data to AI to train it, and some person on Reddit said that you could mix glue in with your pizza sauce, and I was like, "That's a great idea!" And now it's there, and I'll just post the image because the article itself has. Google it yourself if you don't care about F-bombs and things, but there's the image of the article. If you have issues with your pizza sauce, you can add 1/8 a cup of non-toxic glue to give it more tackiness.
Oh,
at least they specified non-toxic.
It's true. I'm sure it would add tackiness. I mean, I don't think it would taste very good.
Is Elmer's glue non-toxic?
Yes.
I believe it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I drank a ton of that stuff,
Corey,
dude.
so they
If it was toxic, I wouldn't be here. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but I definitely, I mean, it is, typo squatting is going to be really interesting given how much, you have Microsoft's, you have Copilot for Visual Studio, you have ChatGPT writing code for people. If those things get trained on enough, I don't know, stuff that's in public GitHub repos that uses that uses the typo squatted libraries. Just saying, we're going to have an issue, and there are a ton of people writing code by asking ChatGPT to write them code.
Haven't they proved
I would never.
There's been several things going out there that have proven that ChatGPT writes better code than people, though, where it's more secure.
It definitely writes all my code.
That's the scary part.
You know what? ChatGPT has helped me with several macros.
Yeah, honestly,
it is like a really good unpaid intern. It'll turn out something. It might not run at all, but that's 80 lines I didn't have to write and 2 lines I have to fix.
Totally. Yeah, all you got to do is take the pizza sauce recipe, take the glue out of it, and then roll with it.
I'm interested in the data vetting part, like you're saying, Jay. Like, how do you vet the data before you feed it in, and how do you have this pure data set? You don't. Well,
you don't.
There's been stuff.
Although you actually, you're right. You should, and
you control F, and then you say replace, all the.
Yes. Well, so okay. I don't think we talked about this article on the news. I know we're going a little bit over, but real quick. Bronwyn posted this article where essentially the new ChatGPT 4.0 model in Chinese, almost all of the top 100 tokens are just like spam and porn sites because they didn't vet the Chinese phrases. They only vetted the English phrases. And so the Chinese phrases are like bet online and like all kinds of like random phrases that shouldn't be there. So yeah, there's a great example. Like someone already poisoned the well with spam. Like de-spamming is an important part of AI, right? But yeah, I'll find the article real quick, but
it's in Teams.
Okay.
I do think it's funny. G-Biz, and it's like ChatGPT is pretty good for code if you actually understand what's being generated. And you're totally right. You're absolutely right. The way I've used it, and maybe other people have done too, is like I have no idea how to write in this language, and then you ask ChatGPT, and it doesn't work. All right. Or it kind of works. And then you end up learning how to code in that language because it won't stop giving you answers. Like it's like a friend that doesn't care how many times you ask them the stupidest question over and over and over again. So yeah, you do end up learning how to code in that language.
All right. On that,
just
that's
for the
how
record,
I learned the OpenAI API is because all of them were giving me like outdated API usage, and I just had to go figure it out myself because my errors are coming back like this is deprecated. I was like, hey, here's the README. Can you just make this happen? And it was like, nope, same code. I was like, oh, damn it, I actually have to code.
Yes, I have to learn.
It's the worst.
I'm trying with different languages, and it was like in Python, it did really well. Golang, at least the first couple months after ChatGPT came out, any bit of Golang I asked it to write would basically never compile. But like you said, it's like if this is if this is the intern that that gets 80% of it done, and that gets 80% of it done, and you spend 20% fixing, that's pretty cool. I mean, I think the biggest thing that LLMs have been nice for, in my mind, is the hardest thing when writing anything, including code, but also prose, is writing the first darn sentence. And so something can give you the first paragraph.
There is a bot up there that will write the bots for you. No, legit. Jason Haddix has a bot that'll write bots for you, and it is very, very good. It'll even write the prompts for you. You just give it a bad prompt, and it'll be like, make this prompt better. And it's like, all right, here you go.
Yeah.
Whoa, and I'm like, oh, God. Like you're just refeeding itself over and over again, and it is mind blowing. I've written several good ChatGPT bots now that I've used those, and then use other people's, like going to Fabric, right, and manipulating it that way. But it is.
It's kind of cool. It's like to teach me.
ChatGPT.
Well,
yeah.
Teach me how to talk to you. Oh,
here's a pro tip. Well, and whenever going to the private GPTs, the standalones that are available through OpenAI, the first question that I ask one is, tell me about yourself. and then it actually does. It tells me what it can do, what it can't do, and I get a feel for it. But here's a pro tip when you're using any LLM. If you get something back and you think it's a little sketchy, copy exactly what it told you and say to it, can you double check this and make sure that it's legit, or, use whatever wording is appropriate, and then paste its initial response back in and have it critique itself. Guaranteed. It's going to find stuff if it's sketchy.
Yeah.
And
all right.
Sometimes I've just told it like, that's not really helpful. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry. And then it gives me something. And I'm like, well, that worked. I don't know how that worked, but I just insult it and it works for me.
At least ChatGPT is better than Copilot. I've had Copilot, no lie. I'm asking it something and it says, oh yeah, it's this by this person. I said, no, it's not by that person. It's, try again. Oh, it's this by this person. The exact same answer. And
I did one with Google's AI Gemini. I went ahead and I asked it, how do I figure what minus 20% equals $7,000? Just a simple math question. And it came back with an answer of 7,000.
Yeah, they're not good at math.
Yep.
ChatGPT, how do you burn this with fire?
It can't burn it with fire. Kill it with fire. Yeah. Thank you all for coming. See you all next week.
Right.
Bye-bye.